back just to another video. I'm doing my end of the month, end of August DVD movie pickup, Blu-ray pickup. What do you, I don't know, bought and watched, what are you going to call it? I got a big pile here of movies that I've sort of bought and watched recently, and you know, show you guys what I bought. So yeah, we're gonna get into it. Okay, so the first one is called it's called There Be Dragons. I did sort of talk about a film. I think it would have been my last update. Spike Lee film, The Miracle at St. Anna. This movie is actually very sort of similar. I think I sort of did buy it sort of around the same time, and sort of got, you know, around to sort of watching it. Very sort of similar sort of premise to it. I'm just trying to think what it's about. It's might be hard to explain. It's sort of you've got sort of the main character, and he's sort of been asked to write a book it's based on a true story. He's got to write this book about a famous priest, and his father, who was actually sort of friends with this sort of famous priest, and you know, his father doesn't necessarily want to sort of talk about the story, but his father's dying, and you know, his father's about to die, so that, you know, on his deathbed he sort of does sort of tell a story of you know, about his relationship with this sort of famous priest, and that's pretty much just the premise to it, I guess. Sort of you know, flashback, you know, type true story type thing. It wasn't too bad of a movie. I did sort of find it perhaps a little bit boring though, to be honest. I don't know. I think it's about a 2-hour movie, I think. But I mean, it was a good movie. I don't know. For some reason, I just didn't sort of find it all that engrossing. But it wasn't too bad. So that's There Be Dragons. Next one's actually a Disney sort of double feature. 2-movie collection. It's Atlantis, The Lost Empire, and Milo's Return. I think the first one came out in, I think it was 2001. Actually, it wasn't a bad movie, actually. It sort of reminded me a lot of sort of other sort of movies. Probably, you know, Avatar, and what else was there? Oh, and the Final Fantasy movie from 2001. Also reminded me of there's a film which stars Gwyneth Paltrow and Angela Jolie. Sort of like pretty much a sort of an all. It might be one of the first all sort of green screen sort of movies. I think it was the early 2000s, I think. I won't remember any before that. Yeah, it's just sort of a kind of animated sort of CGI type movie. With a very similar sort of story to it. Especially, you know, obviously about the lost city of Atlantis, and Milo, the sort of main character, he's sort of following in his footsteps of his grandfather, who was a big sort of adventurer, and wanted to sort of try and find the lost city of Atlantis, and you know, but Milo sort of comes along and does reading the journals, you know, of his grandfather, eventually does sort of find it, and but yeah, I thought it was a really good movie. I thought, actually, nice sort of adventure to it, and it was a little bit sort of, perhaps, being obviously a Disney film, so it's a little bit sort of childish, I suppose, in some ways, but there were sort of some sort of adult sort of elements to it, and but yeah, I did actually quite enjoy it. It was a good sort of adventure movie, and great sort of you know, good sort of animation to it, and good sort of action scenes, and good storyline, and yeah, that was pretty good. I also did sort of watch the sequel too, the Milo's Return, which was very much kind of like a sort of TV show episode, well, kind of like 3 sort of TV shows episodes sort of strung together, like they sort of go on, sort of going for these sort of 3 sort of artifacts, Atlantis artifacts type things. It's kind of like sort of 3 different sort of episodes, sort of all just in one long sort of movie type thing. But yeah, that was pretty good as well. Obviously, the first one was probably a bit better though. So that's obviously Atlantis. Next film's a David Fincher film. I think probably one of the last. I think there's only one other one that I haven't sort of seen of David Fincher. I think I've pretty much seen sort of most of his films, at least most of his sort of, you know, bigger sort of budget ones. Got Zodiac, which I've never sort of seen before, and I've been wanting to sort of pick up for quite a while. I think the other one I haven't seen would have to be was it The Curious Case of Benjamin Button? So I do actually own that one, but I've never sort of got around to watching it. But Zodiac was very sort of similar, I suppose, to Seven, which I suppose is another, which is another David Fincher film. This one was actually very good, I thought. Actually, it goes for nearly 3 hours. So it's quite a long sort of movie. But yeah, very similar to Seven. You sort of got this based on true story of this sort of real life serial killer, and it's just sort of about the sort of the police and the newspapers that trying to report the story and trying to find out who this who the killer is, and so there's got a few sort of stars in it as well. I think Jake Gyllenhaal, Robert Downey Jr. Pretty sure there's another one too, wasn't there? Another famous star in there as well. Mark Ruffalo, that's the other one. Yeah, I thought it was actually a good sort of thriller, and very sort of well shot too. I thought it was a nice sort of cinematography to it actually as well. Yeah, I don't know. What do I say? It's just very good movie. If you're a fan of sort of serial killer movies or just good sort of true life sort of stories. It was actually really good movie for that one. So that's Zodiac. Okay, next one is actually a digibook, which I sort of got. I think I've got to sort of thank sort of Sean from the Media Site, because he was actually the one that sort of I think it was on Facebook. He sort of was saying that Amazon had this on sale at the time, so I sort of rushed in and bought it, and I'm pretty sure it was only like, I think it was around $10, I think, or something, $10-12, something like that, for a digibook, which I thought was really good. It's The Shawshank Redemption. This is a film that there's a lot of people, sort of say this is their favourite film of all time, and it's one of the best films ever made, type thing. I wouldn't necessarily sort of go that far. I think people perhaps do overpraise the movie slightly, but don't get me wrong. It's definitely a fantastic movie. Great sort of story to it, and good sort of actors. A good acting by Morgan Freeman and Tim Robbins. Just good sort of story, and I'm always a bit of a fan of sort of prison type movies, and there are a few other good ones as well. I mean, this is not sort of the only sort of good prison movie out there. I mean, you've got Cool Hand Luke, which I really do like. I really do like that movie. It's fantastic. You've also got Midnight Express, which I did sort of watch the other day actually. I've said it before, and that's actually a really good one as well. Very sort of gritty, and I definitely wouldn't want to try to smuggle drugs out of Turkey. And sort of end up in prison. That'd be quite a horrible experience, I think. But this is definitely, I'm pretty sure it was like $10 or $12 or something, and it sort of comes in like a digibook, and it's got some, really good sort of pictures in it, and very pleased to get this one actually. I've been sort of want to pick up this movie for quite a while, and just sort of, I guess in some ways perhaps doing that, just sort of wait for a decent cheap sort of price to pick it up, and especially getting the digibook, I'm really really happy to get that. But I wouldn't necessarily sort of say it's the best movie ever made, or not necessarily my favourite movie of all time, like other people sort of do say. But it's definitely a fantastic film, and I think it's definitely the end to it. I think it's got one of the sort of best ends I think I've ever seen in a movie. So, but I definitely do like it. So that's Shawshank Redemption. Okay, next one's actually sort of a sequel. I think it came out 2011. A film that I think people say is probably one of the worst movies ever made, but it's definitely one of the worst movies of 2011, or so people say. But I did like the first one though. I did really enjoy that. I mean, it's definitely a really sort of cheesy movie. But I did sort of enjoy the first one. So it's Piranha Double D. As for it, heard absolutely terrible things about this, and really awful, and but I mean I was pretty sure it wasn't going to be a masterpiece or anything like that, and I did sort of watch it, and I didn't think it was wasn't that bad. People I don't know if it's overreacting, I suppose. It's just sort of more of the same, I suppose. I mean, compared to the first one, it's just more of the same. Probably bigger and better, bigger boobs or whatever, more action to it and just more over the top. I think some people got to sort of remember that it's these sort of movies. At least I think these movies they're sort of kind of like similar to sort of the recent sort of Quentin Tarantino sort of grindhouse movies or sort of throwback movies that he's sort of made in the same way that he used to sort of make movies back in the 70s. Sort of dodgy. Sort of sometimes the plot that didn't make sense and the sort of scenes cut out and just missing and bad acting and which I think is what these sort of movies are supposed to be like. They're supposed to be that's kind of a throwback to those sort of movies, and I think some people don't necessarily sort of think that or don't realise that, I suppose. But I thought it was pretty fun. Just definitely, as I said, it definitely didn't sort of make a whole lot of sense. There's a few scenes in it that I thought just didn't make much sense at all. But it was just sort of real fun and just over the top and just sort of fun popcorn flick. So that's double D. Next one, I think it's another film. Was it 2011? It's a remake. I've never sort of seen the original, but I had sort of heard it was pretty good, and I'd actually quite enjoyed this one actually. This is the remake of Fright Night, which I think was it last year or the year before. Sort of found this cheap and picked it up and gave it a watch. I actually thought it was actually really good. I thought, well, sort of a kind of a half and half movie, I suppose. Some of which I thought were really good, really great. Some great sort of special effects to it, great sort of special effects and sort of great sort of action to sort of scary scenes to it, type thing. Some sort of silly things happened and it wasn't necessarily that great. But I think overall I did quite enjoy it. Obviously you got Colin Farrell and he's sort of this strange guy that sort of moves in next door, and I think the main character, whatever his name is, whoever he is, sort of the young kid next door is a bit sort of winds up being a bit suspicious of this sort of new neighbour and thinks maybe he might be a vampire and type thing, and no one sort of believes him. His family doesn't believe, or his friends don't believe him. And it's also got David Tennant in it as well, obviously Doctor Who. But yeah, I thought that was pretty good, I thought. Another film, I think, from, I think it's last year, I think. Last year? Yeah, it would be last year, I reckon. A film that I'd sort of heard lots of great things about, and everyone was sort of thought it was, it would have been last year, I think. Yeah, that's Dredd. So, obviously, the remake, the Sylvester Stallone sort of movie from, I think, the mid-90s, I think. It's got the, sort of cover to it. Which I can't really get it. Yeah. Which I thought was pretty cool. Now, I did sort of watch the movie, and I don't know, I have to sort of say, I was perhaps a little bit disappointed with it. I mean, I don't know. To me, I didn't think it was necessarily that great. It is sort of a fun sort of movie, and it was a good job of watching. Some good sort of action scenes to it, and some of it was quite gory, quite graphic sort of scenes to it. But I think, I don't know, but overall, I just thought it was, I just sort of found it to be, if you do sort of get, sort of down to it, it is a fairly sort of generic, sort of cliched movie in some ways a bit predictable, and, nothing you necessarily hadn't sort of seen before, I thought, in some ways. But, visually and, in terms of enjoyment-wise, it was, quite fun, I suppose. But I just thought, I don't know, it just didn't sort of, wasn't, I don't know, I sort of heard a lot of, praise about it, and I was perhaps expecting it was a bit more from it, something a bit different, I've never sort of seen the original, so I don't know what that's like. But I mean, this is kind of, sort of, pretty cheesy as well. I mean, I haven't seen the first one, but I sort of assumed that was going to be, I had sort of heard that was rather sort of cheesy and a bit, so I thought maybe they might have, perhaps with the remake, they would have perhaps, done it a bit better and made it, not quite as cheesy, I suppose, but, I don't know, I enjoyed it though. I just didn't, just thought it perhaps wasn't quite as, I don't know, groundbreaking perhaps as I thought it was going to be, or, not quite as good as I thought it was going to be. So that's Dredd. Okay. Next film was actually a film I think I talked about in my last movie update. Now, I did sort of say it was actually directed by James Cameron, but it's not. I think he's only a producer of the movie. That's Sanctum. This is a movie I actually really quite enjoyed this one. It was actually a really good movie, I thought. I had sort of heard it was, a lot of bad things about it. People reckon it wasn't that great. And I think probably the first half an hour I thought was just absolutely terrible, really awful, just terrible acting and just, god awful. But I think once we sort of got after that, sort of into the movie and sort of to the sort of main story to it, actually turned out to be quite sort of sort of thrilling and quite exciting and sort of edge of your seat type stuff, I thought. And I'm pretty sure I watched the trailer to it and I had assumed it was going to be sort of monsters type thing beneath the ground. There's none of that in there. It's more of a sort of a survival story. I think you just got these sort of bunch of characters and they sort of get sort of trapped sort of underground. Sort of try and find their way out of all the caverns and sort of got to swim through the water and because it's all been sort of flooded, so they've got to try and find another way out. But it was actually really good, I thought. Real sort of suspenseful and sort of claustrophobic and are they going to find their way out? You sort of start with like was it 4 or 5 characters, and then you sort of they sort of die off sort of one by one type things. You're not quite sure who's going to survive and if they're actually going to get out alive. But yeah, I thought it was actually a really good movie. I don't understand quite why people didn't like about it. I thought it was actually really good. I thought, apart from the first half an hour, which I thought was just really awful and just had some terrible acting in it, I thought. But anyway, so that's Sanctum. Okay, the next movie is actually sort of the sequel, Sherlock Holmes. Is it Game of Shadows? Yeah, which is sort of the sequel to the, I think it was it came out a few years before. Now I just sort of remember sort of watching sort of the first movie and sort of while I was watching it, I didn't think it necessarily was that great. But once I sort of finished watching it, I actually thought it wasn't too bad. I sort of had the same sort of thing with this one too. Sort of just once I sort of finished watching it, I thought, yeah, that was actually pretty good. This is actually more of just sort of a continuation, sort of the first movie, and sort of, same sort of characters, and they're still trying to sort of hunt down the bad guy, the Moriarty character, and but yeah, it's just sort of more of the same, and I did quite enjoy it. Some good sort of scenes to it, and good sort of thrilling adventure type thing. So that's Sherlock Holmes. Quite enjoyed that one. So that's my update. Just sort of been what I've been sort of watching recently, and sort of a couple that I did sort of quite enjoy, and a couple I didn't necessarily think which I thought were okay. Yeah, so that's my update. Thanks for watching. If you think, obviously you've sort of seen any of these movies, certainly leave me a comment and tell me your thoughts on them. Give me a thumbs up, all that cool stuff. I'm sure I'll be back, again, I'm sure with another video very soon. Or sort of, buying more and watching movies. So again, thanks for watching, and I'm sure I'll be back, very soon. So, for now, bye.